Hi, happy to collaborate with Hafil, and been following his YouTube channel since the beginning. And
கட் பண்ணிடு. என்ன சொல்ல இதெல்லாம் ஏதாவது சொன்னா சொல்ல முடியும்.
Hi guys, today we'll be talking about rendering tool, architectural presentation, architectural visualizations, and which are the softwares are more effective, and our perspective about rendering tool and how we have evolved using different rendering softwares. So we have architect Ashraf with us.
Hi guys, it's good to be a part of this discussion regarding rendering softwares in architecture.
I'll start off with my journey. What was my perspective initially? When I was in college, you need to develop a model 3D or something only to make the clients or just to give them an idea. But I was an impression that architects shouldn't be working on the visualization part. Mm-hmm. Specifically, it should be some specialized visualization should work on that. But that was my impression early on. Okay. Then, after using several softwares, currently with Lumion and Enscape, I see you're able to produce the results very immediately. Mm-hmm. So with that thing, instead of showing the just the basic views to client, with Enscape and Lumion, it's much more effective and as well as it gives you more realistic view. Mm-hmm. And comparatively, when I use Lumion and Enscape, I feel Enscape is much more efficient because of the default rendering material it has. Mm-hmm. And Lumion is also equally good, but personally, I would prefer to use Enscape. Mm-hmm. So you can share about your journey, where you started, okay, and how you have evolved using different softwares.
Okay, like you said, during our college days when we were students, every one of the students were at the same level. Like all of us had the same exposure to these softwares, and it didn't matter much. So since everyone was at the same level, only the design stood out, not the renderings. Yeah. But then when we went for our internship, we realized, in the field, the level was a little bit higher, and we discussed among our classmates. We could realize, based on the studio's level, the rendering also way better, the better the studio was, the better experience and exposure they had. The renderings also differed. And sometimes we could realize that the renderings impress the clients better than the designs. True. There were some designs which were really interesting and different from the rest of the designs, but then it wasn't communicated well to the clients. And sometimes a normal design which was rendered really well at a high level, that made a more impact on the clients. So at that point we started to realize the importance of renders, like why we need them. Yeah. And that's when
simple designs you're able to communicate well. The client is getting impressed.
Yeah, the client was getting impressed. So that's when I personally realized renders are very important for architects. But then you made a very good point at the beginning, saying you thought, okay, that's a job of a visualization. Yeah. So architects can design and visualizers can do the rendering part. Why should I spend my time which can be used at some other aspects, for example designing and studying standards and interacting with clients? Why should I put that time in rendering, learning the software? And because every year a new software is coming up. Yeah. And the new one is better than the old one. So why should I keep updating? Why should I invest my time in that instead of giving that to the visualizer? So in that case, I feel, even during college times, I personally felt modeling as and when we are designing was really important. It helped our design workflow. For example, in most of the studios 10 years back, there was a format, and it is still there in a lot of studios. So the format is, first we do the schematic planning, and then we once it gets approved, we do the elevation. So that is a workflow which is still very relevant. but I felt, it should be very seamless, planning and designing the elevation and the interior spaces, how they're gonna look. It all goes hand in hand. Okay, because if you are just doing the schematic design, when you are doing the elevation, you are pretty much stuck with a structure, a layer. You cannot edit it much because it has already been approved and finalized by the client. So I always felt it is very important to do all these things at the same time, at the same go. Softwares which we had before, for example, we just used to have 3ds Max and V-Ray, but we would be doing the plan in AutoCAD. So it didn't allow that, it didn't allow you to work at all these things at the same time. Yeah. But later on, after the introduction of SketchUp and all these real-time rendering softwares which we are having now, you can actually edit the plan in SketchUp itself. It's not too hard. So you can push and pull things, push and pull these walls, and it helps us. These models helps us in the design stage itself, not just the visualization stage. Yeah, even Revit. Yeah. So I think all this began with the introduction of Revit. I think it played a major part. Doing all the things at the same time. For example, when you're drawing the plan itself, you get the details also. Yeah, all these. Yeah, that's the thing. So that's why I feel visualization, architects knowing the visualization part is also very important. Yeah, because it helps you in the design stage itself. It's not just for visualization. Yeah, that's what I feel.
You were sharing about your experience, and out of all these softwares you use, so I remember when we were using SketchUp and V-Ray, the work is initially we used to work in AutoCAD.
Yeah.
Then you have to bring it to the SketchUp.
Yes.
So there, after you have to model it again. And for the properties of each thing, again you have to, in V-Ray you have to keep changing the material.
Yeah.
So I personally felt you have to spend more time in understanding the V-Ray materials and how the properties work. But later on, now like I said, the other softwares, like currently they are updating each and every platforms, and you have the live render as well.
Yeah.
So when you're working only, you get to know the real-time picture. So out of all the softwares you work, I want to understand which software you think is more efficient now, which you would recommend for whoever is using new to the visualization.
Yeah, okay. Personally, I think these softwares help me in achieving two things. One is to make my designs better. Yeah, that is super important. And then the second part is, just for visualization, to show it to the clients and also use it for your portfolio, for your future references. So these softwares are useful in these two stages. And the first stage, I think all these real-time softwares which have been there since only the past 2-3 years, Enscape I think was the first software which gave us real-time. I think there might have been other softwares, but the mainstream, I think Enscape was really good. And now I think it made a huge wave in the architecture industry. For example, even big firms like Bjark Ingels firm, like the big group, even they're using Enscape now. Yeah. So I think the reason behind that is because you can see your as you're working on your model and your design, you can see it in real time, like how it's going to come up, like how good it is looking. And for the design stage, I think Enscape is really good because it updates itself as we are designing. And I think a lot of softwares now are trying to catch up with Enscape in that aspect, because V-Ray now has V-Ray Vision. Yeah, but then and also Lumion is also having a real-time plugin now. Yeah, now it is there. They have done that. And D5 Render is a new Chinese software. Even that has it. But all these softwares are in real-time aspect. I think they are still lagging behind Enscape.
Okay, so
for example, in Lumion and D5, once you do some changes in SketchUp in the 3D model, you have to click a button like update the model. for it to update in Lumion. But Enscape, it updates by itself. Every single move, if you draw a line, it gets updated in Enscape. So for that, I feel Enscape is better. And in Enscape, what it does is it has a one particular feature like auto exposure. It's there in all softwares, but then in Enscape, this auto exposure and the default setting it provides. It is really good. Like I think we can put it in this way. I think even Enscape or Lumion, all these softwares. To produce a highly realistic image, it is I think not possible, or it is very difficult, because there aren't much edit options. You can't edit it to very minute details. You can, but it's really difficult. It is very limited. But then the default settings it has it is really good. I think that is sufficient for our clients and small time firms. It is sufficient, and also in the design stage it is enough for us. That is enough. But in V-Ray you can go really in depth. You can go super minute details. For example, if you take CGI and VFX works, you can see the difference between Indian movies and Hollywood movies. So in Enscape, it is really easy to achieve a level of like Indian movies, for example, but you can't do Hollywood's standard of CGI with the Enscape. In V-Ray, you can do that, but you need a lot of expertise. And I think, get that much expertise in V-Ray is not an architect's job. That's what I feel. Work with these real-time software itself. Yeah, that is better. That is what I feel. So all these softwares are at par, Enscape, Lumion and D5, but I think these little features like quick updates and the default materials and settings, I think Enscape takes the lead for now. Yeah, I think there is a common notion in like all our minds, like among students and even architects, that graphics card is like the most important thing which helps in rendering. But I think for before 4-5 years, that was a big lie, because most of the rendering engines, they used actually CPU to render. Graphics card is something which helps you in helps the computer to show the image in the monitor, but all the calculations was actually done by the CPU. But now after all the softwares, I think they have moved on to RTX rendering, like it's called ray tracing and RTX rendering. That is actually done by the GPU. So now V-Ray, it provides you both the options, like you can do the render in CPU or GPU. There is a switch which you can switch it to either of the options. But I think all the real-time softwares like Enscape and Lumion, they all use GPU. So I'd say RTX series, 3000 series, 3060 onwards, it's all good. It's all sufficient for a student. If you want to build a system dedicated to just 3D visualization, then I'd say you can go for 3070 Ti or 3080. That is sufficient. I think the budget will be more like for per system. I think you'll need 1.5 lakhs Indian rupees. And I think already the next gen graphics card have been released. I think 4080 has already been released. But I think 3080 is sufficient. That is what I feel. But even though you can go like how much ever higher graphics card you want, but the thing is, SketchUp uses just CPU. It doesn't matter which graphics card you are having. It doesn't matter at all. So and also SketchUp is one software which works on single core. So even if your CPU has 24 cores or 36 cores, it actually doesn't matter. SketchUp just uses a single core of your CPU. Sometimes an i5 processor has a better single core score than a i7 processor. So the only thing you need to check is what is the single score of the CPU. Yeah. So I think SketchUp needs to update, the company needs to update because it tends to hang a lot when you are working on complex models. But there is no component which is available in the market which helps that. So I think it's the problem of the software. So I think maybe they work on it. Yeah, but otherwise 3ds Max and AutoCAD, they also work on CPU, but then the more cores, they work better. So the higher the CPU power is, they work better based on that. So yeah, but if your primary software is SketchUp, I think you are pretty much stuck with it right now. There is no solution in the market, but hopefully they update it in the future.
So one last question I want to ask is like right now everything is in digital and there is so much value for walkthrough. I think your walkthrough I want to see like whatever they are designing they want to see in real time. They want to experience it, right?
Yeah.
Virtual reality.
Yeah.
So you can say about that.
I think the future is VR, especially in our field. Already Enscape and are leading the field right now in VR. Yeah, it's very easy. The workflow is very easy in Enscape for VR. I think that is the future for the clients to experience how their space is going to be as if they are there already. That is a very huge jump. I think that is the next step. I don't know what is the next step, but I think VR is the next step. Yeah.
Enscape right now there is you have so much artificial intelligence art generator. One is DALL-E and another is Midjourney.
For a long time we've been hearing about AI, but now it's already there in the field. Even I have used it for a project of mine. Like for example, you can upload your renders and you can ask for iterations. They actually provide you with more concepts, like how this can be done, another iteration for clients always want to have more options. When you are designing elevations and all, they always ask for can I see another style and stuff. So what happens is in DALL-E you can upload your image and you can just create more iterations. It provides you with more options. Like with just a click you can have more options instead of spending hours on a new model and stuff like that. So already you can see showrooms using VR. Like they have you can update the materials in real time and show how this model will look with another color. Showrooms, instead of having all the products showcased, they can showcase it in one material and then with the help of VR they can show them how it will look in another material, in another finish. So VR and AI really play a very big role in our field, and especially in visualization they will play a huge deal.
Thanks guys, I hope this video was helpful.
Thanks for having me in this discussion in your YouTube channel. And I think there would have been some points which will be helpful in your work.
Thank you.
Bye.